Hey there, it's the Jew from the Chew on This podcast, letting you know you can leave comments, questions, and suggestions a number of ways. Reviews and comments are appreciated on iTunes and YouTube, and you can check out our daily postings on Facebook. Our Twitter feed and Instagram is at Chew on This Pod, and of course, as always, you can email us directly at chewonthispodcast@gmail.com. So there you have it, folks. Short of a bat signal or an Avengers card, there's all the ways you can let us know how big of a nerd you truly are. Enjoy and chew on this podcast. Welcome to episode 37 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
So this was kind of an interesting week because I've been waiting actually for a long time for Matt Damon to come back to Bourne. And because that middle, I don't know if you watched Bourne Legacy, but I was not a big fan of that, even though I like Jeremy Renner.
No, I don't even know what it was about. Was he playing Jason Bourne or somebody else in the Bourne?
He was playing somebody else that was an agent like he was, essentially.
Nope. Even you describing it, I'm not going to go back and watch it.
No, I actually went back and watched the Bourne trilogy because it's one of the best produced spy thrillers out there, next to like those Tom Clancy ones.
I
like
love the first
Hunt
one.
for Red October.
I love the first one. A lot of people didn't give it a chance because it was like, I'm not going to fucking watch Matt Damon try to be a badass, because a lot of people don't remember that that was his first foray into like the action star type thing. And, he was always playing like, Oscar dramas and things like that, and comedies too. And he didn't really do any action type stuff. And I remember when that movie came out, a lot of people like, I'm not going to buy Jason Bourne. I'm not going to buy Matt Damon as a badass.
I saw the trailer and I physically laughed out loud when I saw the trailer. I'm like, no way! Fucking Goodwill Hunting is Goodwill Hunting's beating people up. Like, I mean, he beat people up in Goodwill Hunting, but not like karate style. It's like more like street style. So, but anyway, before we get too far into Bourne and some other things that we're going to talk about, I just really quickly out there for our listeners, I want to. We have a big podcast coming up next week, and I just want to reiterate to everyone out there that this is a really big deal for us because we're going out to Rancho Obi-Wan. We're going to do a full-on tour, and which is very exciting for us. That's in a nutshell that's something that we want to do anyway. But the sweet thing on top of that, or the cherry on top, if you will, is that we get to interview the proprietor, which is Steve Swan-Sweet. But for all you Star Wars nerds out there, you should know who that is. He's the largest collector of Star Wars memorabilia, private collector.
Private collector, right?
Yeah, Guinness World Record.
Basically, Steve grew up not playing with toys, or playing with some of the toys and not destroying them like we did, and is actually in the Guinness Book of World Records for all the Star Wars stuff that he owns. So I heard there's like an arcade room too, and I was like, "Holy fuck, we're gonna be able to play like old Star Wars games too."
I'm so excited for that. I don't think he'll have the battle pod at this point, but I mean, he'll have all the old stuff that I love playing.
I mean, I can always go to like, what's it called? What the fuck is that place?
Buster's, Dave and Buster's.
That's a free plug. We want money. We can go there anytime to play that. I don't really care about that, but I'm interested in playing all the old games, like the Pod Racer one. It's kind of funny how much we hated the pod race in the movie, but as a video game, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's so fun.
What else was there? There was that old Star Wars trilogy game where you get to fight Darth Vader at the end.
Yeah, I used to play that every time I went to Vegas. I'd stay at the Luxor and I'd get to play that. That was a lot of fun. Everyone's out gambling, and I'm like playing Star Wars games. But
it was in the basement of our rec center at college, and I used to go there specifically like 2 hours early before class just to pump quarters into this thing. And I had the whole thing memorized. I was like in the top 5. It was the only game I've ever been in, like the arcade game that I've ever been in the top 5.
He's like, you're taking like your date down there. You're like, look, I'm in the top 5. Let's go bang.
Yeah, 2 hours after I'm done like pumping quarters into this thing, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I was on a date. I don't know where she went.
Anyway, so we have that to look forward to, and also our Suicide Squad review, which there'll be 2 separate podcasts. But
yeah, we're gonna release 2 podcasts next week, just like not this week, but last week.
Last week, yeah. So that's more goodies. So anyway, but back to Bourne. So when Bourne Identity was announced, like you, I was kind of very skeptical and even like laughable.
I wasn't skeptical. I was actually not skeptical.
Oh, you weren't?
No, everybody else was. I thought it was funny that everybody else was. And even then, when I wasn't a big film, I was like a film geek, but like not like I am now. And I just knew that he could act, so I was like, just give it a chance. The trailer looks pretty decent, so. I went to go see, and I loved it. I bought in I bought in before I saw the movie, and people didn't buy in. Most people like you didn't buy until after they saw the movie.
I didn't buy it until I was going through the middle of the movie. I was like, oh my god, this is badass! Like he's Jason Bourne. This is really cool. And that movie did very well in the box office, and actually I think scored like a 83% Rotten Tomatoes, which I think probably should have been a little higher because I think that was my favorite out of the trilogy. But
yeah,
boy, when Bourne Supremacy came out, I was the first one in line to go watch that movie, and I came out of there like a little bit disappointed, but it was just so like if you are someone that gets sick really easy, like motion sickness, that movie made a lot of people sick because
they took that one they took the style of the first one and upped it to like 10 in the second one, and like they didn't let up. Like there was breathers in between the first
much.
One. Yeah. There was breathers in the first one, and then in the second one they just was like, all right, that part was awesome. Let's just keep doing that. And like it was really hard to watch the action. As good as the action was in the first one, it was equally hard to follow in the second one.
Yeah, it was just way too much shaky cam. But then by the time they got to Bourne Ultimatum, I think they trimmed that down a little bit. And
that was probably, other than the first one, that was my favorite one.
Yeah, I love Bourne Ultimatum, and actually that scored like the highest out of the trilogy, was 93%, because they did some like really cool stuff in that movie. It blended with the second movie. You notice that it did some little bit of time travel in there, like it was like a movie within a movie. It was so bizarre.
I thought the way it ended too, that it closed the loop. So I was kind of surprised that they did another one.
Yeah, I was surprised too. Like, you didn't watch Jason Bourne yet, did you?
No. When I saw the trailer, that's basically what my thought was. I was like, wait a minute. I thought they were done with the whole thing because I thought the third movie kind of answered all the questions. So I don't know, like, how many more questions he has.
Well, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I will tell you, I mean, because I think you can look this up on the plot, but essentially each movie is done in the same way, in that he's hiding, he doesn't want to be found, and then something brings him back, whether it's a death or some weird, like he gets blamed for something, or something like that. In this movie, it's no different. He's brought back in. I'm not going to tell you like specifics, but basically there's a new program director, and they've started the program back up again, but they called it something else. So like he's trying to figure out what's going on, and there's a catalyst that kind of brings him back fully. And then by the end of it, they could pretty much like just end it right here. But if it makes a shit ton of money, it's easily open to make something else, because now by the end of the movie, he remembers like literally everything. He knows everything. I thought he
remembered everything before.
Right, but there's a specific thing in this that came out that now is kind of driving him a little bit. And so
wait a minute. So I know these movies are based on books. I think, what was the name of the author? Robert something?
Robert Ludlum, which I think he passed away. So there's like somebody else writing the books.
I know the first 3 movies were based on the books. Is this one based on a book?
I don't think so. I think either the new author or they just made this one up.
Okay,
and you can kind of tell
when Hollywood goes away from the from the source material like that, especially when it's a very successful, book or a very successful author, they don't do very well.
Well, I'm okay. So this one is tracking at 57%, and I'll tell you why. It should be called Jason Bourne. It's kind of a filler movie. I mean, it's still better than a lot of movies out there. Don't get me wrong. I think the reason why it tracks so low is because it's not Bourne Ultimatum, man. It's not Bourne Identity. It's kind of a weaker Bourne Supremacy by a lot. Like there's some fantastic actors in this thing. Every movie they put someone fantastic in there because the director usually gets killed or gets fired or some shit. So there's always some new guy coming in, and this time it's Tommy Lee Jones. And then the girl that played in the Danish Girl, and she was also in Ex Machina playing the robot. She plays she plays an agent, that talks to him once in a while. Julia Stiles is back. She's in every single movie too, just playing that really little bit part. But in Ultimatum, she actually goes on the run and disappears, because I
think he helps her.
Yeah, he helps her disappear, but she pops back for a reason in this one, and then I mean, there's really not much to say. The formulas are exactly the same every time, but this one they added a couple of things that you're like, okay, that's what's going to come in the next movie if they make another movie. Which, again, we've said this time and time again. Focus on the movie you're doing. Don't worry about the universe or some bullshit thing that you're going to try to do 2 movies from now or 1 movie from now. It's like, take care of this movie, because like each of those movies are really well done by themselves. And this one could have, had so much potential, but I think for me anyway, it came up pretty short. I think for you, like, I would wait till it came out on DVD or go see it a matinee at a $2.50 theater, and that'd be worth it. But I don't know, paying $12 kind of wasn't worth it for me.
So since you actually saw it, and this is probably our first spoiler-free review ever, because when we did the BFG, the Big Fucking Giant, I didn't care to see the movie, so I didn't care if you spoiled it for me. But this is our first spoiler-free movie, because I actually will eventually see this movie. So you actually saw it, and I thought something crazy. I saw something crazy, that a spy thriller movie like this cost $120 million to make. Did it look like that?
It's a lot of special effects? It's filmed beautifully, but I think a lot of that probably goes to the actors' paychecks. Like, Bourne Ultimatum cost $120 also. So, and that movie was 9 years ago. And so I think what they did is kind of, they budgeted better. And I think most of the money's going to Damon. I'm sure they paid him. Okay, so get this. This isn't a spoiler because it's been online. You've been able to read it. Is that he only read 24 lines. He only did 24 lines in the entire movie. He barely speaks at all. And they said he got
Superman.
paid.
So
basically they said he got paid like $25 million to do it. So basically that's a little over $1 million a line. I'm not even shitting you. And I didn't know that until after the movie was done. I came home and read that article. I'm like, fuck, you know what? He barely said anything in the movie. They're right. But you don't notice it because there's all this action and all this other shit going on. But yeah, he barely says anything. And he probably has back deals. I mean, and then you got Tommy Lee Jones. He's not cheap. I mean, they've got some pretty big heavy hitters in there. And so I think that's where most of the money went. But it's filmed, I mean, again, like in this day and age, most movies you watch, even the shitty movies, are filmed beautifully, So
yeah, but like a special effects laden movie like Deadpool only costs what, $50 million to make?
Yeah, well, okay, so I'll just tell you, I mean, that again, I think it's the actors. I mean, in the other movies, there's way more action. In this movie, they have
you got a point there. I mean, if Damon was in Deadpool, I mean, he would command half of that budget.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a big action piece in the beginning and a big action piece at the end.
Yeah, but 120 million, you know what I mean? Like, I understand that's a big budget for a fucking spy thriller movie. I mean, I could guarantee if you gave me 80 million, I could probably make a movie that was probably just as shitty.
Where'd all the money go? Oh, it was just hookers and beer. I don't know.
I just got this handy cam, and the rest of it, I don't know where the fuck it went.
Yeah, I think it got deleted. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's funny.
It's somewhere on my external hard drive, but you got to look for
it. Totally. Well, usually, we record this a little bit earlier. We're a little late this week, but which you guys can't tell. You don't fucking know. But we were able to get the box office figures for this movie, which is kind of a first. But it's at 60 million, which I think is where Bourne Ultimatum did. Or I think maybe it did a little bit more.
It's going to drop like 50 or 60% in the next week because Suicide Squad.
I think it is.
Out. So yeah, it's not going to make its money, and I don't know what the Bourne series is like overseas.
It's pretty big overseas too. So I think by the end of this, by the time Suicide Squad comes out, it'll probably be almost at 100 million, maybe less, maybe like 90. If it does like 6 to 10 million a day, I think it'll get up to 90. But it's not. I think it's going to be the lowest of their series regardless, and which is unfortunate because again, like the same cast, not the same cast, the same director, the same writers, the same actor, cinematographer probably. I mean, everything is the same, down to the music, down to the plot, down to everything. And you think that, it's tried and true, but it's just not. It's kind of tired. The series is kind of tired. They need to do something new. That's why we love Mission Impossible so much, is because ever since the third movie and JJ's production company got involved, each movie's different and fun and all this crazy shit. Bourne is serious, it's like fucking people are dying and there's no laughter in it, it's just seriousness. It's like those Tom Clancy movies, with Harrison Ford and all that stuff. Yeah. So, but anyway, when
you make those type of movies, when you make those type of spy thriller movies, the only way it works is if the spy thriller part of that works. Like,
right.
It's a difference between like going to see Skyfall versus Spectre.
Right.
Skyfall is such a great spy thriller movie, and Spectre falls short in my opinion. I think we've talked about this too.
Huge,
podcast,
yeah.
But like, you're right. It is the same. It's the same type of plot line, and you can accept that for 3 movies because they just kept getting better. I mean, there was a dip with the Bourne Supremacy, but it went back up with the Bourne Ultimatum, and it's I guess I don't know. It finished like number 1 overall, but who was it going against? It was going against the biggest movies out this weekend were Bad Moms, which finished second with 25 million. Which is a comedy, is a women-driven comedy, which I actually want to see because the trailer looked really funny.
We saw that tonight, just right before. Yeah, it was good. It's I think it's sitting in the 60s, but it's like if you love Step Brothers, you're gonna love this. Okay. I don't know what else. And Step Brothers is like at 50-something% because it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's over exaggerated humor, but a lot of it's really freaking funny. It doesn't matter. Shut your brain off and just sit back and laugh. It's really good.
Right. And the second big movie that was out this weekend is still Ghostbusters. And, we've talked about that ad nauseum about like how that movie was basically fucked from the beginning. So it's not a good week for Matt Damon, I guess, because this movie has, 57% on Rotten Tomatoes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it finished with the second highest opening for the trilogy, or for the, what is it? I don't even know what it is, but there's 5 movies now.
Right.
The second biggest opening next to the Bourne Ultimatum, 69 million. And then the other bad news coming out for Matt Damon this week was him being the only white guy in the Great Wall of China movie.
Oh God, yeah, that was a big controversy. But isn't that an Asian production though too? I mean, isn't there an Asian director and a lot of actors? And
I haven't read too much on it. I recognized a lot of the Asian actors that were in the movie. And it basically has like the number 1 Asian director directing the movie, and I think it was funded. It's being brought out as like the most expensive movie ever made in China, even though Legendary got top billing and so did Matt Damon. And according to the director, it sounded like he came out and basically said this is an American movie. So like for him, it made sense that the lead actor was a white guy. I mean. it made sense to him because it was like, oh, it's an American movie, then it doesn't matter whoever else is there because that's just what America does. As long as
Okay.
it's an American movie, those guys overseas are like, oh, it makes sense that it's a white guy. But over here in America, where we're diverse, it's like, okay, it's the Great Wall of China. They actually built it to fight monsters. Like, oh, that's an awesome premise. And then you got all these Asian guys, like seriously, all these Chinese guys just standing on a fucking wall, and then there's white as fuck Matt Damon in the middle of all of them saving their asses.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for that. Like if it was Lord of the Rings, it's different. You got a bunch of dwarves, and then you got an elf. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. But this is a little different. It's like, a cultural thing. So, yeah, I don't know. I haven't read too much about that. I just remember seeing the trailer, I think from Comic-Con, online or something, and I was like, that's an interesting premise. But I had no idea. There was I didn't know it was a production over there or who was running it or whatever. Like, I didn't know, like, if it was Spike Lee directing it, I'd be like, what? Like, this doesn't make any sense. So,
well, here's the thing. Like, there's been a lot of movies out nowadays where there is foreign production companies or foreign distributors that are funding some of these Hollywood movies. They're starting to get into Hollywood to fund the movies. So I think the last movie that I saw in the theater was Star Trek. I believe there was a Alibaba logo in the beginning of that movie.
Interesting.
The last Mission Impossible movie had a bunch of foreign production companies in front of it,
like
too.
Investors. I wonder if those are investors.
Not production companies. Yeah, I think investors or whatever they're called. I'm not sure what they're called, but if you pay attention to like the mission, whenever the next Mission Impossible movie comes out, there's a ton of foreign logos that come in, and I'm pretty sure Star Trek had like an Alibaba, I think was the investor in the beginning of it. I mean, you saw it. You don't remember seeing the logo?
I don't remember. I just remember seeing Skydance and seeing Bad Robot. But any movie you watch now has got like 50 million production companies in the beginning of it. It used to be just one. Now you've got.
What's crazy is that they're saying that this movie is the most expensive movie China ever made, but Legendary got top billing. Like when you watch the trailer, Legendary is the first one that comes out.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, so, I don't know. That's weird.
It's still an American movie, but I guess like they got all the money from over there. There's some like top actors. There's some top Chinese actors in that movie.
Yeah,
I believe Andy Lau is in that movie, which is kind of crazy. That he's
cool.
in it. So I think he was like one of the lead actors in, which is kind of funny. He was the lead actor in Infernal Affairs, and I believe he played the Matt Damon part. Or Matt Damon played his part in the Martin Scorsese version.
Right.
So that's kind of ironic.
Trippy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so weird.
But yeah, he's the only. There's like it's not even like Matthew McConaughey rolled up in a fucking tank and said that we're gonna save China on the Great Wall of China with all these other like white people. Because that's what they did in like Reign of Fire, where like all these Americans came over to London and saved all the British people. It's only Matt Damon. He's the only white guy in that movie.
Dude, if anybody can help the Chinese, it's going to be Matt Damon. Maybe Tom Cruise. I don't know. Well, he was in The Last Samurai.
Yeah, he was. Well, I would say maybe it would be Jason Bourne, not
the whitest guy. The whitest guy.
I'm pretty sure Jason Bourne could help the guys in the Great Wall of China. I don't think Matt Damon could.
Dude, if he says, "Do you like them apples?" or "Do you like apples?" I'm gonna be really pissed.
I'm gonna fucking lose it if he's on the Great Wall of China and he says that thing from fucking Team America, Matt Damon.
If he starts singing "Scotty Doesn't Know."
Oh yeah, good stuff. I love Team America. That's a very underrated movie.
Yeah, it is. It's the sex scene in that still.
How about here's a little bit of a tangent. How about I saw it in the theater and I thought it was hysterical and I bought the DVD for it, and I was like, I showed my dad the movie, right? And I was like, and I completely forgot about the sex scene, and I bought the unrated version, so it's like 2 minutes longer.
Goes on, it goes on and on.
It goes even worse. Where like I think one of the puppets shit on their face or whatever, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot about this part, and my dad's like cracking up about it. He actually thought it was funny. Because it's like fucking two puppets, like fucking, like in weird positions, shitting on each other.
It's so stupid. Gives her a pearl necklace and all.
Yeah, it's fucking funny.
Oh my god! I guess you could only get away with that with puppets, but that's too funny. But so that's Jason Bourne in a nutshell. I'm sure you'll go see it.
Yeah, let's end it on those shitting puppets. Let's end it on the shitting puppets.
But the other movie that we actually saw this week, I didn't go see it in the theater, but it came out on. Did it come out on DVD? I don't know. It's on digital. I know that. But we watched The Killing Joke, based on the, I think, 1988 graphic novel by Alan Moore.
I can't remember the year it came out, but I remember reading this thing, and it was like, I remember reading it at the time, and it was really like dark. It basically is the
gritty.
It's as far as fans go, most I would say like maybe 80 to 90% fans, like this is the definitive Joker story.
Yeah,
like,
or one of them. Like The Dark Knight Returns, I think, is the other one.
Well, this one actually gives like the Joker a backstory that a lot of people go to now.
Right.
But the comic is what, like 16, 20 pages maybe?
Yeah, so it's not very big.
It's not easy to make like a 120-minute, movie or whatever it was. Ended up being like an hour and 20-minute movie. I don't remember what the total was. So they did something controversial, which they had to beef up the story. And they introduced like a 15-minute intro or
epilogue.
Is it
or prologue?
Epilogue? Would that be considered an epilogue?
I think so. Yeah, I think that would be pretty accurate.
Okay,
because it takes a while to get into.
Yeah, it's pretty long, and basically what they did was they expanded Batgirl's story.
Yes,
in a very controversial way, and basically that's what's driving the Rotten Tomatoes score down to 53% right now.
So we're gonna go into spoiler territory on this movie, folks. So if you haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, unlike the Jason Bourne movie, this one will be full of spoilers.
Yes. There's no shitting puppets in it, though, just so you know.
No. That would be pretty funny, though, because it would be the Joker doing it, and it would make total sense if he did it.
Well, was this rated R? They said it was going to be rated R like a year ago.
It is rated R. I mean, this movie has a lot of rated R stuff in it. The rated R stuff is still part, in my mind, I think still happens in the actual graphic novel part of the movie.
Okay.
I think it's kind of PG-13, other than maybe some curses in there. But as far as like the beginning part that they made up for the movie, I think it's essentially PG-13. The rated R stuff doesn't come until the graphic novel starts.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I watched it going, is this really rated R? Because I mean, most of it was just insinuation or stuff that was like not filmed, but like implied.
Wait, you never gave your rating for Jason Bourne.
Oh, well, we could do that at the end. We'll do it at the end.
At the end for both. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do it at the end with both. So yeah, I watched it and I remember going, hey, they said this thing was going to be rated R. So I remember watching it, kind of looking out for things, and yeah, I mean there was a couple swear words here and there, but it felt like a lot of it was just kind of insinuated stuff or stuff that they kind of like implied that they were going to do off camera, and then you don't see Barbara Gordon actually getting raped or anything, but you see her. I guess what does he do? He shoots her. He knocks the door open. And he shoots her. No, she opens the door and sees him. Yeah. And he shoots her.
Yep.
Yeah. And then he goes over and starts unbuttoning her blouse or something, doesn't he?
That's after they take Gordon out, because Gordon doesn't know that happened. But anyway, we're jumping
okay. Anyway,
ahead,
go back.
Let's go back to the beginning part that they made up that everybody can fucking stand. So what they did was they took Batgirl and gave her a story, a 15-minute or so story in the beginning before the graphic novel actually starts. And basically, she's on this mission that she thinks that she can handle, and Batman doesn't think she can handle. And the guy that she's going after, the name doesn't really fucking matter. It's just the son of the boss or whatever, this gang is fucking toying with her and is infatuated with her, and Batman doesn't want Batgirl involved in this thing, and she takes offense to it. And basically, it culminates in them fucking on a rooftop.
Yeah, so let's go back just a little bit. So she's basically lonely, right? And she's just like doesn't have enough attention, I guess. Doesn't have a boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah,
And
because
this guy
she's too
comes.
busy fighting crime.
Yeah, so this guy comes along and he's flirting with her and he's kind of an asshole, but I don't know, I think some girls like assholes though. And he's kind of a real jerk, but she just keeps like coming back, like she's doing witty banter back and forth with him, but knows he's a bad guy and all that, but then she keeps going back for more because I don't know, I guess she just likes the attention, but the guy's clearly a psychopath.
Well, for her, well, that's not what I got from it. I got from it the fact that like that Batman specifically didn't want her on it, and she kept wanting to prove herself that he doesn't matter what this guy's saying.
There's that part too. I got that out of that as well, but I still think she was kind of like she liked the attention. I don't know.
Yeah, but
maybe I'm wrong.
The main thing that comes out of this entire thing is that Batman and Batgirl fuck.
Yeah, like which right there was okay. So if someone were to tell me that, normally I would have been like, okay, but watching it, it just felt so wrong. It felt like a student being screwed by their teacher or something like that.
Because
it just was so creepy. Or like your best friend's dad, you know, or something like that. It just wasn't right.
Yeah,
you know,
because she was in college. Because they show her in college, so. What, she's in her 20s, low 20s, like 21.
He's got to be in his mid 40s, you know.
No, mid 30s or whatever.
Well,
right?
Then that's not. I mean, age wise, it's not creepy. I just think the way they portray him in the film, he seems like he's a lot older than that, and the way he's handling her, you would a daughter or something like that, and so. It was just creepy. The creep factor was up to 12 when they started screwing. I was like, what?
Yeah.
You know. So
and there was no. It's never, to my knowledge, I don't think they've ever had sex before in any comic book version.
Not to my knowledge, but also it's kind of like Anakin and Padme getting together. There was no chemistry there. There was no indication that they were in love or anything. It's like it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it basically goes from like, what the fuck? You don't think you trust me to I want to fuck you.
Yeah.
That's basically how it happened.
Let me change your mind with my woman parts.
Let me ride your bat dick with my bat
right. And but it doesn't sway him because the next day he's like, yeah, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. and
then Batman becomes bat asshole.
Batman's a bat douche.
Yeah, and Batman doesn't bat call her back.
He's like, I'm too busy.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I can't. I'm doing laundry tonight.
Yeah. We're getting all the stains out of my back crotch.
Yeah, I gotta clean my cod piece. You fucked it
up. That's
how am I supposed to fight? Yeah, how am I supposed to fight crime with bat juice all over my fucking costume?
Alfred didn't order me enough of these.
Yeah,
I gotta.
Alfred's pissed. He had to fucking scratch this stuff off.
Oh my god, yeah, it just came out of nowhere. It made absolutely no sense, and so I can understand why
I thought it was
like
out there. My favorite part was the fact that he didn't like call her for like a fucking like 2 weeks.
I'm like, he's just like every other fucking dude.
He's like, so you're not gonna spend the night, right?
Right.
The Batcave is full tonight.
Right. Sorry, I went in through the Batcave. I didn't mean that. But...
I'm fumigating right now, the Batcave. So I'll give you a call later, maybe. Can I just email you?
Oh shit, Two-Face is in town. I can't go out tonight. Yeah. I just can't do it.
Yeah, and Alfred's been pissed at me, so I gotta hang out with him.
Yeah, well, talk about Barbara Gordon, right? The commissioner's daughter.
He doesn't even know about that.
That's gonna be awkward.
Yeah.
Like he puts up the bat signal and he's like, I'm not going tonight. I'm not going out there.
Yeah.
I'm sick. I got a cold.
I just remembered that part in Batman Begins at the end of the movie where Gordon's like, I never said thank you, and Batman's like, and you never have because I fucked your daughter.
like, okay, it's okay, man. It's all right.
You don't have to say thank you. You have no idea what I just did.
You don't have to. She gave me thanks enough. I mean, it was like 20 minutes of thanks. It was okay.
Can you just imagine Christian Bale's like Batman? He's like, your daughter said thank you. Twice.
Actually, the second time she couldn't really talk.
Your daughter says thank you way better than you do.
Oh man. So speaking of Commissioner Gordon, man, they really screwed around with his character like super bad. Like that poor guy was run through the ringer.
That's basically what happens, and that's what basically happens in the comic book. But here's the when I was watching like the part where they actually it was pretty much verbatim what happened in the comic book. The part that bothered me the most was the ending of the comic book. That's what bothered me the most, because Alan Moore, to my knowledge, has gone on record and basically says that Batman kills the Joker at the end. Like he says it's pretty obvious how the panels work, where Batman's like laughing, they're both laughing, all of a sudden the Joker's laugh cuts out, and that's what happens in the cartoon, the movie as well. But it's not. I don't think it's as prominent as they try to make it in the graphic
It doesn't
novel.
work. It doesn't work because like I was watching that going like this just seems really awkward because like he just starts laughing. You know, they both start laughing and like he starts belly laughing, and I'm thinking, oh, is he gonna like just dispatch him right here and there and then stop laughing? And
well, it happens out of panel in the graphic novel or in the comic. So, but that's what I was waiting for. Okay, I was like, okay, they pan down because that's what happens in the comic. And then nothing happens. It just ends. And I'm like, wait a minute. Alan Moore said that he fucking kills the Joker, and there's no like sound effect. There's nothing that insinuates that.
He's gone on record many times saying he hates Hollywood because they fuck up his material. I mean, I think if he watched The Watchmen, I think he would enjoy that. I mean, as far as I know, that was the best treatment of his stuff ever out of any of the films. I mean, like V for Vendetta, he fucking hates, and I don't like that movie either. Yeah, I mean they ruined his novel big time. So anyway, like I was really, really bummed because I remember when they announced this last year, people just went apeshit. And then when they said that Kevin Conroy, which sounded weird as Batman this time around, I don't know why, but he didn't sound right.
Mark Hamill sounded good.
Mark Hamill sounded amazing as usual. A couple of his monologues were great.
Yeah, he sounded even great when they were doing the flashbacks too. Like I was trying to pick up whether or not that was him, and it was him. He just changed his voice.
It was him, just very subtle. Yeah, it was really, really well done. Mark Hamill's just amazing. I mean, shit, there's nothing that guy can't do. And I've heard that now, I guess Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are going to be doing more things. So that's exciting. I'm glad that they're back.
For the longest time, they were like, we're not doing it anymore. The Arkham video game is the last we'll ever do. But he did say if they ever did the Killing Joke, we'll come back for that. And then I guess like they had such a good time doing the Killing Joke that they're going to be doing the Justice League cartoon that's going to be like 11 minutes long, apparently.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that's right. I read that somewhere after Comic-Con. Did you see the? I know he wasn't at Comic-Con, but he was at Celebration, and he did. They had it all over the internet, but he did a monologue from the Killing Joke with. Like he read it on stage as the Joker.
I thought it was. I didn't think. Or maybe it was a joke. It was a monologue from the animated series.
It was. Yeah, it was a monologue from the animated series. That's
Like
right.
that. I thought it was like the death of Batman.
It was. That's right. Yeah. It was so good though when he did it. I was like, oh my god, chills. I mean, it's so cool to like see him work, on stage in front of everyone like that. But so. As far as like the cast is concerned, like Mark Hamill was fantastic. Kevin Conroy sounded different, but he's still, my Batman. Tara Strong, Brian George, Ray Wise. He's been in a shit ton of stuff. And then Joe DiMaggio, John DiMaggio, sorry, not the baseball player. John DiMaggio, who we all know is Bender in Futurama, and then he's Jake the Dog on Adventure Time. Which those are two of my favorite cartoons.
Yeah, Tara Strong has done a lot of DC work.
She's done a ton.
Yeah, she's if they're doing some kind of like mainstream like cartoon like Young Justice or Justice League or the Killing Joke or whatever, you can more than likely find her in there.
Yes, yeah, she does a lot of different voices for them. But so this scored at 53%. I don't think it made a ton of money. They just did it for one night, I think.
Yeah, it's basically for the Blu-ray release that's going to be coming out in digital release.
It was like July 25th. I think it was like last Monday or whatever. They showed it in theaters for one night only. Some of my friends went and saw it. I didn't go. But yeah, you can get digitally. It'd be on Blu-ray and whatever. It was an hour. I watched it. I didn't think the animation was over the top. It was okay. I think again, Mark Hamill the Joker just shines. Always steals the show. And
I thought it was too clean, the animation. Like, I don't know, maybe because I read it as a comic book. Like I remember reading the actual feeling the paper and looking at the artwork and it being a lot darker. So I didn't get that grittiness when like they were parading Gordon around and then they put him in that amusement ride and showing him pictures of Barbara,
of his
like
daughter,
undressed and shit. Like it was too colorful for me and it was too bright. Like basically the exact opposite of what Zack Snyder would have done to it.
Yeah.
Like Zack Snyder should have put his filter on this movie and it would have been a lot more scarier or freakier. Because I remember reading it, like getting freaked out about it because like, oh my god, he fucking did that to Batgirl, like fucking undressed her and shit and like took pictures of her like undressed. This is fucking Batgirl that he did this to. The last time he did something this fucked up, it was killing Jason Todd.
I think it's interesting. Well, you just said something there. I think it's interesting that sometimes stuff just does not translate well from comic book or book to movies. Like sometimes it just doesn't. Like I felt like The Watchmen was great. It translated very, very well, and they tweaked the ending, which I didn't care. I was like, it actually made it better for me.
Yeah,
I thought the big squid was stupid.
Yeah, me too. I thought if they brought the big giant squid into the theater, people would have just fucking walked out.
Yeah, they were like, "What the hell is this bullshit?"
That movie, why that movie failed for I think is because it was poorly marketed. Because if you go back and watch the trailers for The Watchmen, they were touting it as like some big action movie, and it's fucking not close to being an action comic book.
It's a complete psychological look into people trying to be superheroes.
Right. It had nothing to do with action, and like the action that they showed in the trailers, basically like that's all the action was in the entire movie or comic book or graphic novel. There was not a lot of action.
No.
So people walked out of that movie like, what the fuck did I just watch? And it's like,
it was boring or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm just like, no, man, that movie
it was just poor market. Yeah, it was a poor marketing job.
Yeah. But I don't know. So you want to go into the ratings? What would you rate? We'll start with The Killing Joke. Why not? What would you
do the Jason Bourne one first?
Oh, Jason Bourne. I'll give it
How
three.
Many, 3 chainsaws?
I give it 3 chainsaws, yeah, and I would say Jan Brady.
Jan Brady on diversity?
Yeah.
Huh, because I didn't see anybody other than white people in the trailers.
No, there was a black gentleman that was pretty prominent in it. He was Tommy Lee Jones's right-hand man, and then there was a lot of foreigners.
That's good.
I guess you could, you know what though? I guess you could say they're white foreigners though, so maybe it is kind of more toward Casper, but not completely Casper. Okay. So like the asset wasn't. No, he was white too, but I think he's French. Shit. Never mind. I think it's pretty Casper because because Matt Damon is pretty much in it the whole goddamn thing and like
you can't be Jan Brady. You can't be in Jan Brady when you have one black guy in it.
No, yeah. So I'd say leading right. I'd say it's like a Casper and a half. So let's just say Casper, but I give it 3 chainsaws.
Okay. So why don't you give your rating also to The Killing Joke while you're already at it?
Okay, well, The Killing Joke, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give it 2.5 chainsaws for me. I don't think it really works for diversity. I mean, I think everyone that's voicing the actors are white. So
it's a
definitely
cartoon,
Casper.
So it's kind of hard to give
right.
that rating. I'm right on board with you about 2.5 stars. I was disappointed. I mean, the beginning, like we said, just kind of doesn't work right. I understand why they did it because, like, I mean, the cartoon would have been like 30 minutes long, The movie would have
Right.
been 30 minutes long. So I understand why they did what they did. I don't know. They must have had a lot of powwow sessions because this is a big comic book to adapt.
It's
And
huge.
DC usually does a really good job. Like DC's cartoon movies are really good. Their animated movies are really good. And this one they had held off for so long to do it. And this one was one of those ones where we couldn't wait for it to happen. And especially since they got Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill back to do it.
Yeah, it's been a year, man. A year ago they announced it, which they probably were already knee deep in animation by then. But
I think they had to have sat there in a round table and said, like, okay, well, let's expand the graphic novel within the graphic novel, meaning like, let's not do the Batgirl pre-story. Let's do, expand on the Jokers and stuff like that. And maybe they were just like, well, we don't want to touch the graphic novel portion of it. Let's just do something else outside of that. And I'm guessing they tried to do it because they wanted the impact of what happened to Batgirl be even worse. But the problem was it was never about Batgirl.
No.
I mean, it was never about her. So it didn't, and they tried to make the impact even worse on Batman because like they have that great exchange in the beginning of the movie, like, if we don't, we're going to end up killing each other. Like, so there's that's basically panel to movie screen right there.
Right.
That conversation they have, but they tried to make a bigger impact on Batman. Because obviously they said, okay, well, let's make a bigger impact by having Batman sleep with Batgirl. And it's like, it didn't really matter because he didn't fucking call her for 2 weeks.
Right.
So, I know, I'm guessing, I would guess that's probably what their intentions were, to make the impact more about that. But it took away from the genesis of what that book was about, which was the Joker. The Joker would basically, it was all about the Joker and a little bit of Batman about if one person has a really bad day, they're going to turn into the Joker. And that's what he was trying to prove. And by putting Batgirl in the beginning of the movie and giving her entire backstory about it, you turn to the Killing Joke into the Batgirl story. And it's worse because it's clearly two different movies, right? Because like Batgirl basically gets shot. Because in the comic books, she's just there with her dad. She gets shot, and then she's just paraded with those pictures, right? Because she's not the main character of the book. So when you do what they did in the movie, she's just lost for the whole movie because you think that the movie's now about her, but then she just disappears for the whole fucking movie. Her story,
for the whole latter half,
right? Her story in the beginning of the movie is not finished by the end of the movie because it was never about her.
Yeah, so, I kind of like it. I'm two of them. Yeah, I think number one, they had to pad the movie to make it longer.
Right.
Which now in hindsight, I'm thinking, man, they should have just picked out a couple other graphic novels to do, so they'd have 3 30-minute ones that they could have put back to back to back as like a a sample or something like that, like a 3 separate movies that are half-hour long or something like that on a DVD. That would have been cool. But instead, they padded this thing, and then you also have to think that eventually it's going to be on TV at some point. So by making it as long as they did, they can put it into 3 parts. It clearly is like 2 different movies. That's what it felt like to me too. Because like it was one thing, and then right around the middle, it switched to something complete, something else. And then by the end of the film, it was just very confusing. And then with the whole, they start talking, they start joking around, they start laughing. I was like, what the hell? Like, yeah, I know that's how it ends in the book, but it just doesn't translate well, on the screen at all.
Because they spent all that time developing Batgirl and Batman, their relationship. So, like, by the end of the movie, you're like, wait a minute, what happened to that relationship? That was never fixed. So it instead of like enhancing the tragedy, they basically ruined the main point of the movie or the graphic novel.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and in turn, they trashed the Joker store and they trashed Barbara store by adding all that shit. So
right,
it's not a great. It's definitely a step back in the entry of DC animated films because you're right, they do have a very good track record with a lot of their films, and so this was a big bummer.
I'm on point with you. I think I'm around 2 or 2.5 lightsabers for the rating. Looking back on it, I probably lean more towards 2. My initial reaction was I remember somebody asking me when I saw it, and I said I really liked it because I wanted to see the Killing Joke. And remember, I've always said like I can't give an initial reaction to a movie unless I start actually start nitpicking at it. And the more I started looking at all the bad things that happened, they outweighed any of the good. Which the good was like Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill and seeing the Killing Joke in animated form. Other than that,
Right.
there was nothing great about it, and they actually ruined the graphic novel for it.
Yeah,
So
I kind of want to go back and watch, Under the Red Hood now and some other ones that I really like.
yeah, those are
So,
good. Yeah. So
but
if you're listening and you've never seen, I don't even know why you would be listening to this if you've never read or seen the movie, but if you are listening to it, please go back and read the graphic novel
yes,
and if you did watch the movie without reading the graphic novel, go back and read the graphic novel and try to just imagine none of that shit with Batgirl happens because the graphic novel will have more of an impact and it's grittier too. You'll
yeah,
see
it
less.
is
You'll
gritty.
finish it in you'll finish the graphic novel in 15 minutes. Basically,
Yeah,
it's a short read.
but it's fucking good though. It's
Yeah.
really super good. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it on that front. But speaking of Batman, though, I was reading somewhere that he might appear on one of the DC shows. Is that true? Like on CW?
What?
Did you read anything about that?
No.
Yeah, that was like the big rumor recently was that they're considering, I guess, putting Batman on.
Well, they already
'Cause
got
right now,
Superman.
yeah, they got Superman, which I don't
A
know,
different
man. I looked at,
Superman.
yeah, isn't it Teen Wolf Superman or who is that guy?
I have no
I, I,
idea.
I think he was in Teen Wolf or one of those or Supernatural, one of those shows. I don't know.
As much as we shit on Zack Snyder's versions of Man of Steel, Henry Cavill looks like Superman, dude.
He does look like Superman, but the problem is he's so buffed out and big that there's no way to like cover up Clark Kent. That like at least when you watch the the old Superman movies with Christopher Reeve, he does a completely different Clark Kent. He doesn't necessarily. I mean, he's got the height of Superman, but he hunches over and he has his hair slicked. But the
Yeah,
Henry Cavill
that's
version,
more of
he
a
doesn't look
comic
any
booky
fucking
version
different.
of Clark Kent. That's more like I still love the Christopher Reeve versions, but I think for more realism, I still like the Brandon Routh Clark Kent
Yeah, I do
Superman
too.
transition. I mean, I know a lot of people hate Superman Returns, but I will still say that Brandon Routh is right there with Christopher Reeve. There, I said
Yeah,
it. Like
yeah,
seriously, take away the fact that the movie's not great and Superman's a deadbeat dad, and just look at his performance by itself, and that guy is wasted in that movie.
yeah,
It's a real shame.
completely.
It's a real shame that he got wasted in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad his career's taken off now in Legends of Tomorrow, which to me is like the lesser of all the shows on DC, but on the CW. But hopefully they'll give him. I mean, I don't know the way that it ended. I'm hoping that Legends of Tomorrow has a better. Like we're
Well,
in territory now that they're going to have different things going on. So
yeah, I think Legends of Tomorrow is slowly surpassing Arrow for me.
yes, and Supergirl's kind of it's there, but it still needs to it still needs to grow and do things. And I think they're probably them adding Superman to the first episode, and I think he's going to be in a reoccurring role here and there. I think that's a good idea because instead of just text messaging and emailing all the time and Facebook messaging,
I didn't
I
mind
think
that. I didn't mind
I thought
that.
I was okay, but I said to myself at some point he's got to show up. I mean, at some
Yeah,
point,
but he has shown up before. You just never saw his face. There was a part where
right?
he shows up and she's kind of half knocked out and he's all blurry. Like I didn't mind that, and all it does is remind me that DC is not that doesn't have a cohesive universe. That's all it does is remind me that there's two fucking Barry Allens, there's two Supermans. Like it's not the same, and don't give me that bullshit that they're on different universes.
It's a multiverse. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
multiverse.
don't give me that shit because I mean, if you guys did that, great, but you guys have a hard enough problem making a decent movie. Because my universe right now is with DC TV.
Right. I cannot wait until October when that shit starts up again.
Yeah,
So especially the Flash. I mean, they're doing the Flashpoint story, but then there are rumors of they're going to lead into Crisis, which is the other Flash story that's fucking incredible. So I think it's going to be super cool. And also I think Flashpoint, the rumor mill is that it's going to affect all the other shows.
well,
So
you can't do Flashpoint without Batman.
Yeah, that's why I said, there was some, I don't know where I read that, but
here's the caveat.
They're talking about Batman.
Here's the caveat to that. It's not Bruce Wayne. It's Thomas Wayne.
It's Thomas Wayne, right?
And Martha Wayne is the Joker.
Which, in other words, they could get away with that though, because that's not borrowing from the movies. Yeah, they could do that.
No. By the way, I just ruined Flashpoint for anybody who hasn't listened to or read the comic book.
That's a minor spoiler. But Flashpoint really fucks with the timeline hardcore. I mean, it does all kinds of crazy shit
in a good way.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do, because they haven't been proven wrong yet. So we'll see. But,
all right, so that's episode 37. But again, tune back next week when we release the Steve Sansweet interview. It's going to be a big deal for us. It's going to be fun.
I think it's going to be a longer podcast probably, because after the tour of Rancho Obi-Wan, we're going to go and podcast about our experience. And then I think possibly right after that, if you stay tuned throughout that whole thing, you'll get to the Steve Sansweet interview. And this is super exciting for us, and we hope you guys as listeners have just as good as time as we are, because we're trying to really come up with some good things to talk about instead of the same old stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
Basically, if you like toys and you like Star Wars, you should really listen next week.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's going to be the big deal right there. But anyway, that was episode 37 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
Till next time, chew on that, folks.
Later.